You're gonna let in the people?
We're doing it
Yes.
now.
Ah, got
We're
you.
only
So, so
with
then,
the speakers now. Okay. Okay. All right.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening,
evening.
everyone.
So I think we're having a little
Good
bit of a
evening,
technical.
everyone. We're letting everyone in.
I think, hi, everyone. Hi, Maya. I think the connection is a little bit delayed, Maya. Hi, Maya.
Oh, for me?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little bit delayed. Just so
Hi.
you know, yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hmm.
Is it delayed?
Now we can
Oh,
hear you
sorry
better.
to
We
hear
can hear
that.
you better. We can hear you better now. So please go ahead.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good. I will just start. Okay. Oh, all right. To CanpaTalks, Indigenous Healing. We are thrilled to have you with us for this important discussion today. My name is Maya Heymans Goedschalk, and I will be your moderator for today. First, I would like to talk about CAMPA for a little bit. CAMPA is the Caribbean Alliance of National Psychological Associations. We were launched in 2013. It is organized to advance practice in the service of Caribbean well-being and development, while addressing professional interests of psychological practitioners, academics, and researchers. CanPA works with the Caribbean psychology community to develop a psychology discipline that is relevant to issues and realities in the Caribbean, and to support development of the discipline throughout all the region. CanPA sponsors psychology in the Caribbean. Its standing committees support the regional development of psychology education and training, growth and development of national organizations of psychology, development and strengthening of standards for professional psychology, communication, and promotion of scholarship, and for disaster response and psychosocial support. Who of psychology in Caribbean countries and territories, but also a grouping of individual psychologists in the Caribbean countries or territories where there is no national association of psychology as yet, and psychologists in the Caribbean diaspora. I would like to go over a few details regarding our time today. Gerda, if you have the next slide for me. Yes. So this is part 2 of our CanPA talks on Indigenous healing in the Caribbean. So I don't know if any of you were here yesterday. We had a very, very interesting justice and racial injustice in our communities. Today, we will focus on Indigenous healing in the Caribbean. Next slide, please, Gerda.
Go ahead, Maya. I think there's just a little delay. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Maya. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you to do the yes. I wanted to ask you for the next slide to go over the details of our time together today.
Yes, it's up. It's up, Maya.
Oh, I don't see it.
I think there's just a
I
little
don't
delay.
think
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's seeing it. Somebody's in the chat saying they're not seeing it.
They're not able to see the slide.
No,
No.
no. If you click on the next slide, maybe.
We're seeing the slide, but not as a
Okay.
PowerPoint show.
You're not seeing this slide?
Now we,
Now you got it.
No, yeah, it's come up.
Oh, okay.
No.
yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Ah,
Yes.
Sorry about that.
okay. Well, okay. Good. Let me just, yes. Okay. Speak to you about are some Zoom basics. You will all be muted. So if you have any questions, and please feel free to ask as many questions if you want via the chat. So just type in your questions via the chat, and after each speaker, we will have the questions answered. If you want to see the speaker filling your screen, please go to speaker view. Then you will get all the small boxes with the participants and the big box with the speaker. The third item we wanted to speak to you about is to ask everyone to use the everyone chat function, a participant or a speaker, a personal message, do that to them personally and not to everyone, because then we will all see that message. And following the presentations, the presenters will answer your questions. Yes? Okay. So next slide, please, Gerda. Next, I would like to invite you to see a special message from the governor of the US Virgin Islands. Yes. Gerda?
Welcome to CanpaTalks. I am Albert Bryan Jr., Governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands. As you know, the CRCP conference was scheduled to be hosted on our beautiful island of St. Croix this year. But as in many of your locations, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed our plans, but definitely not our enthusiasm. We are excited about this year's CanpaTalks because it will allow us to keep the conversation going about issues that concern us all: racial justice in the Caribbean, and Indigenous healing. Please engage fully in the virtual sessions this year, and thank you so much for attending. And yes, we are even more excited to know that the local organizing committee, the Association of Virgin Islands Psychologists, and the regional organization of CAMPA continue working together to bring a world-class conference on St. Croix next year. Please plan to attend the CRCP 2020 Plus, Caribbean Resilience, Psychology's response to historical contemporary disasters from November 17th through the 20th, 2021. We want you to leave St. Croix refreshed and inspired and ready to take on new endeavors at home. On behalf of Lieutenant Governor Kenza E. Roach and the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands, we look forward to meeting you next year. I wish you much success with CanpaTalks.
Okay. So thank you very much for this message, Mr. Bryan. Indeed, we really hope to see you next year in the US Virgin Islands for our CRCP 2020. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers. We have our main speaker, that is Dr. Nanan Pandey Jinguri, who is living and working in Suriname. And we have the panelists, Jeffrey Walcott from Jamaica, Khadija Khan from Trinidad, and Alsace Lewis Brown from the Alsace Lewis Brown is having trouble with her internet connection because there is electricity. We say stoornis in Dutch, a problem with the electricity. We do hope that she will still be able to join us. Okay, so let me first start to introduce Jinguri. Kamla Jinguri, medicine in Suriname and Belgium. From 1980, she has been working as a psychiatrist in the Psychiatric Hospital of Suriname. From 1989, she has been working as a HIP4 as a transpersonal regression therapist. From 1998, she has been combining indigenous healing methods with Western psychiatry as an integrative psychiatrist. Dr. Nanan Pandey works at the Psychiatric Center Suriname, but also as a lecturer at the University of Suriname. In 2019, she achieved her PhD at the University of Suriname, where her dissertation was pluralism in the treatment of psychiatric problems in Suriname, a study into the contribution of cultural explanations in the treatment of patients with psychological problems. As you may understand, this is exactly to be one of our speakers today. I now invite Dr. Nanan Pandey to give her speech, and she has 10 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Dr. Nanan Pandey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kamla,
Good
and
evening.
Maya has introduced me already. Today, I'm going to give some information about cultural explanations for psychiatric and psychological problems. I studied this subject for my thesis. Maya has mentioned my thesis already. You will note that in the talk, if I talk about the patient, I'll do it in the male form, but with patient, I refer to both sexes, the male and the female. Slide 2, please. Slide 2, please. Yes. There are explanatory models and there are explanatory models. English is not my main language. And treatment for mental diseases. Psychiatrists and psychologists work with the biopsychosocial model. But a patient accepts the biopsychosocial model, but he can also believe in cultural causes. Sometimes a patient can only believe in cultural causes rooted in religion, supernatural, and transpersonal sources. The biopsycho model does not include culture and religion in the diagnosis and treatment of the patient. However, culture strongly influences the way patients express their illness. International studies show that there are transpersonal and supernatural explanations for psychological problems. Patients and the surrounding who believe in these latter causes use their own idioms of distress to describe the problem. If a therapist is not aware of these perceptions and experiences and ignores them, it can result in a wrong diagnosis and treatment. The transpersonal area includes the belief in an immortal soul, near-death experiences, post-mortem communication, clairvoyance, and also in the so-called past lives. Supernatural are problems caused by forces that cannot be explained by natural law. My main treatment is according to the biopsychosocial model. If that doesn't work sufficiently, after consultation with the patient, I proceed with integrative psychiatry. Integrative psychiatry is the combination of the biopsychosocial model with the complementary and alternative medicine, CAM. For example, like the adjuvants of vitamins, acupuncture, I apply the transpersonal regression therapy as a CAM. With the transpersonal regression therapy, I am often able, together with the input of the patient, to help him to reduce or get rid of his problems. Transpersonal regression therapy is developed from hypnotherapy. In a light trance, a person can gain access to the subconsciousness. Because of the disturbance in the normal patterns of memory caused by trauma, the memories of traumatic experiences can be separated from consciousness and voluntary control and be stored in the subconsciousness. From the subconsciousness, these memories continue to influence current perceptions, effects, and behavior. By getting access to these domains, it is easy to treat the base of the problems, and from there on, the other associated problems. The explanations for the problems that are found during the light trance can be psychosocial, that means in this life, the problems of this own life, transpersonal, or supernatural. Slide 3, please. Can I get slide 3, please?
I'm sorry, Carmen, is it this one? I just don't know which slide you're on. Can you see the screen?
I do not see the slide.
Sorry about that. Let me just reshare the screen again. Let's see.
No, this is not the one. Cultural and yes, this one. Thank you. The cultural and religious explanations that people give in a light trance, because I only accept those as explanations with which I have to work, because sometimes people come and the moment they are sitting next before you, they say, yes, I know I'm a victim of black magic. I do not accept those explanations of them, but only the explanations I have found in the light trance. Only with those I work to help them to solve them, to get control of them. The main explanations are reincarnation, Influences of ancestors, curse, and possession. Reincarnation. In Suriname, this belief is found in Hinduism and in the Vinti religion. The Vinti religion is the religion which the African slaves, with the religion of the African slaves, the colonizators, the Indians, all other slaves, the Catholics, which split a syncretism of it. That is the Vinti religion in Suriname. Um, in They call it also voodoo. It has different names. In Brazil, they call it macumba, but in Suriname, we call it vinti. Hindus link reincarnation to the doctrine of karma. Bad deed from previous life can take their toll in this life in the form of illness or problems in life. Supporters of the Vinti religion assume that an ancestor can be reborn. This child can be recognized by a mark or scar that the deceased family member also had. The influences of the ancestors. With respect to the Hindus, there are mainly two situations where ancestors can have negative consequences. These are at first, if the rituals after that are not properly performed, and second, if the sacrifices they brought for supernatural beings, this is the person who is dead, and which were served by ancestors, if their offspring stops with it. Concerning the rituals after death, most Hindus are very afraid, and they say, yes, if I do not do these rituals good, then my father or my grandfather will come and give me problems. But I have noticed that it is not the way by which these rituals are performed are the cause of problems, but emotional problems which are not solved at the moment of dying can be a reason for not finding peace for the soul. In the Vinti religion, the ancestors can punish if the rites for the ancestors are not done by the offspring, or if the social cohesion within the offspring is disturbed. And in the Vinti religion, they also believe that curses can continue for generations until a family member is strong enough to break this curse. Possession. Possession, this explanation is the most found explanation. Possession is the belief that one's own identity is taken over by another, which is usually an unembodied entity. This takeover can be partial or complete. Slide 4, please. Yes, thank you. There are two main forms of possession. The first one is the culturally accepted takeover by a spirit with voluntary change of consciousness, for example, the shaman and healers. This voluntary takeover is often preceded by adarcism. Adarcism, I don't know if you have heard this before, this term. It implies an opposite process from exorcism. Adarcism consists of practices and attitudes aimed at integrating spiritual entities in a person after these entities have been recognized as good ones. The presence of these entities is regarded as healing, empowering, or beneficial. The second form is not appropriate to the culture, and it is associated with black magic, witchcraft, and in Curacao, in the Antilles, they call it bruja. The manifestation of the second form can be with involuntary change of consciousness and without change of consciousness. Second slide, please. Second slide, please.
I'm sorry, Carla, are you able to see the slide? It's on risk factors for possession that
The
everybody,
next one after this. Because I just talked about this one, which is shown now. I want the next one.
okay, this is where it was before. This is
The name is Risk Factors for Possession.
that's what I have up. Are you not able to see it?
Gerda, it's still on the possession slide.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yes, this one. Risk factors to get possessed are dissociation. And with trauma, there is very often dissociation, and they can enter into a person, I just say enter, during an acute or chronic traumatic events. Seances, they are very dangerous. People open themselves for these entities. Addiction also, injuries to the body. I know, if I suggest that, or I don't know, but I think that all of you have heard from some of your patients that they are a victim of black magic, and that they believe that an entity is sent on purpose to harm them. Next slide, please.
please let me know if you see it.
Yes, this one, thank you. The manifestation of the possession. The first type is the presence of an entity with loss of consciousness, convulsions, outrageous behavior, amnesia for the attack. And after it has happened, they do not know what has happened, and then they can't remember anything. And when people see this, they think that the person has got a psychosis, because they talk and they say a lot of things. They talk with a strange voice. It's just like another personality is in him. But the one which I see most, which I found most, is the presence of an entity with no visible effects on the person. And the symptoms can be found as mental problems, somatic disorders without organic pathology, or social problems. Mental problems can be confusion about one's own personality and identity, chronic depression and suicidality, rapid mood swings, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, outbursts of anger, hallucinations. The somatic complaints are chronic fatigue, pseudoepileptic attacks, unexplained somatic complaints, migraine. Social problems in their relations, at work, and financial. Patients will continue to seek help from traditional healers, including all the risks with it. Therefore, physicians and psychologists are advised to inquire regularly if they have complementary and alternative treatments. This can be in the religion, but very often at the traditional healer. By doing this, therapists can identify in an early stage whether the patient is also consulting the traditional sector, and thus detect undesirable effects sooner. That was it. Thank you for your attention. I finished now.
Okay, thank you so much, Kamla, for this very, very interesting presentation. And I'm sure we as psychologists and psychiatrists and groups have many times been have come into contact with patients who have said, as you said, they've been influenced by black magic or others. So now we will go on to the questions. As you've seen, I have turned off my camera because of the internet connection, but I can, I hope my voice is better heard now.
Yes, it
Okay,
is. Very nice.
so
Do not see
Kamla,
anybody
we have
anymore.
time for thank you.
I do not
Thank
see
you.
anybody
You
more.
don't see anybody. Oh, okay. Okay. But you can hear us, Kamla?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear us? Yes?
Yes, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. So let me just start with the first question. Anne is asking, are these beliefs shared by everyone, or is there a difference between the older and the younger generation's perspectives?
My own experience is that some people who do not believe at all in these explanations, older or younger, that when they are in a light trance, suddenly they have uh, experiences of persons who are talking with them or who are talking through them. And from those problems, from those information, they can get a lot of um, manners to find the solution. Thus, it is not bound to race, it is not bound to age, it is not bound to status of the person, rich or poor. It, everybody can have it, but you do not know, and that is the second form. But the people, the population of Suriname, I think that two-thirds of them believe in these things. And my own experience is that a lot of them visit the traditional healer who is not always, who has not always good intentions. They take a lot of money. There is sexual abuse. They fill the patient with anxiety that if you, I am able to help you. And if you do not this, that will happen. There are some good ones, but I do not have seen them, or maybe those patients, those persons, they do not come to look for help at me when they have at a good healer, have been to a good healer. Is that the answer?
Okay, thank you, Kamla.
What's here? Happy many.
Yes, I think so. Ava, thank you very much for your presentation.
I
Yes,
do not
yes, we
see
heard you,
anything.
Kamla.
I only see a black box with Maya
Yes,
head.
we heard you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes, because yes, and I turned off my camera because of the bad internet connection. Yeah. So, Kamla, someone said, it was Ava Thompson who said, thank you very much for your presentation. It affirms in our region.
I do not understand
So
you.
the next question is, um, I'm not sure. Okay, let me try again with the next question, Kamla. Can you please expand on the distinction between psychosis and manifestations of possession? Did you hear me?
Yes, it is difficult to find a difference at that moment because an attack of an entity is not continuously. It comes in attacks. And with a psychosis, somebody who is real psychotic is mainly constantly in a state of hallucinations, of delusions. hearing voices, seeing persons, of yes, anxiety. With possession, it comes in a text, and they do not remember after that what has happened. But with the psychosis, people know what is said, what they are doing, and they tell you. But with an attack, after that they cannot tell you anything. That's the main difference. But if it comes very often, the main treatment we start with is to give them antipsychotics and tranquilizers because they are very anxious.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, Kamla. We need to go on. There are some more questions, and I suggest that we can go back to those questions when we have time at the end, or that the people ask the questions during the breakout rooms. Yes, the breakout room sessions. So thank you very much, very much, Dr. Nanan Pandey, for this very enlightening talk. Thank you. So now, now we will hear from our panels. And I want to remind you to please, our first panelist is Dr. Jeffrey Walcott. He was born in Clarendon, Jamaica, and attended Clarendon College. He furthered his education at the University of the West Indies, Mona, where he received his MBBS degree in medicine and his DM in psychiatry. He has worked as a consultant psychiatrist in charge of community mental health services for the parishes of St. Mary in Northeastern Regional Health Authority and Kingston and St. Andrew in the Southeastern Regional Health Authority in Jamaica. Of Community Health and Psychology, the Masters of Public Health program at UWI, and the Masters in Counseling Psychology program at the College of Graduate Studies and Theology. He is the immediate past president of the Jamaica Psychiatric Association. Currently, he is consultant therapy associates Ltd and a member of the steering committee and director of the preceptorship program of management of schizophrenia for Janssen Pharmaceutical, Latin America and the Caribbean. He is the co-principal investor on a Grand Challenges Canada grant funded research project and subsequent grants from the Ministry of Education, Transition to Scale program, for which he received the Principals Award for Most Outstanding Research Activity in 2 journal articles, 2 book chapters, as well as served as a reviewer for 3 international journals, regionally and internationally. Yes. So, Dr. Walcott, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
3, I thought it was 5, but that's okay. I can wing it. Good night and thank you for having me. I think one of the most important things is that I have over the past 20 years been working with and studying the work of Frederick Hickling, and the program that I'm going to give a brief description of tonight is really his brainchild that he developed from the 1970s. Hickling is a very interesting man. He's a psychiatrist, but he's also a neuroanatomist and a thespian and very well endowed in the creative arts. And he, during the time that he was working at the Bellevue Hospital in the 70s, he was faced with the task of rehabilitating severely ill schizophrenic patients, when conventional wisdom would speak to the fact that these patients don't respond to psychotherapeutic interventions. And he didn't believe that. So he created, using his various knowledge bases in both the creative arts, in neuroanatomy, and in the management of schizophrenia psychiatrically, he developed a group-based psychotherapeutic modality that was focused on using engagement, which is what is now called mindfulness techniques, engaging patients in anxiety diminishing activities and exercises, as well as activities that create cohesion and group dynamics, and also using a specific technique of analysis, which is called psychohistoriographic psychotherapy, which got the patients to actually communicate together collectively, using their collective memories in a dialectic fashion to develop not only insight and behavioral change in themselves, but also to create creative art productions, themes, plays, music, drama that could actually translate the insights that they developed to the wider society. And it was a very successful program, which led to the creation of the Garden Theatre, that led not only to transformation in terms of the patients that were at the Bellevue Hospital, but also led to transformation within the country as it relates to stigmatization of persons with mental illness, the impact of which is something that we as Jamaicans are not quite aware of. And it was most apparent to me when we invited guests from Latin America to visit our shores and got them to actually see how our patients were being treated. And for them, it was transformational because they had never seen anything like this, where we are used to patients working, having families, living normal lives with a diagnosis of psychosis. For them, this was something new because they were still coming out of the trenches of the institutionalizational model. Now, that's not exactly the program that I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the development or the evolution of that program into a primary care public health model that was focused on children and developing a model that was translated to our nation's children, those that were having difficulties in terms of behavioral problems and academic problems, and a model that was actually being implemented not by psychiatrists or psychologists, but actually by teachers who were taught the different techniques and were able to replicate the techniques in the schools and had tremendous impact on the behavioral problems that they were faced with these children in schools. It started in 2006 with one particular primary school in Kingston, which had difficulty in terms of both behavioral and academic performance in their children. And the model was developed with Frederick Hickling, adapting the psychohistoriographic model to children using what we term the dreamoral cultural therapy, cultural resilience model, where he used the same psychological dialectic modality of therapy, but adapted it in a form of play therapy, leaning heavily on the cultural and creative aspects to engage and to actually get the children to go through the therapeutic steps without having difficulty grasping difficult concepts. So it was really a form of a play engagement where the children were asked in a specific script to create what they would want in the world and then connect that creation process to their own behavioral patterns and the behavioral patterns of their colleagues and identify ways and means within themselves as a group to extinguish these behavioral patterns that were negative and also to enhance the behavioral patterns that were positive. And by the children engaging in that play model and by them developing the model, it actually concretized their own transformation and got them to be able to translate that message to the wider community. So the intervention not only transformed the children, but it transformed the schools. And in fact, at the end of the program, we saw transformation within the community settings itself, where persons were more involved in the lives of the children and were more invested emotionally, especially the teachers, because the teachers developed a stronger emotional bond and connection to these children who had been labeled bad behaving, problematic children that no one wanted. At the end of the program, the teachers began using words of endearment and ownership for the group that they were put in charge of. The program has been since been expanded. We replicated the model started with psychiatrists and psychologists testing the model in children. The model was replicated where we expanded to 4 schools where we used cultural therapists, which were trained in the creative arts, and we taught them the psychological techniques, and they adapted it in their way to the different schools, and we found similar results. The children responded in like fashion. Academic improvement was seen significantly, and we did control studies that show that the children did in fact improve compared to their peers, and we saw pro-social behavior emerging and the children being able to become more confident, more engaged, and more productive. The last transformation was actually shifting the complete package directly to the teachers. And that's where we are currently with 87 schools and over 1,000 children involved. Thank you. That's my 3 minutes.
Wow, thank you. 6 minutes. Thank you so much, but so very interesting, Dr. Walcott. Thank you so much. We will now go to questions. The first question, what were the ages of the children using this model of intervention?
So the age range was age 8 to 10. It was grade 3 to 4, and it was specifically chosen for that age group because they're prepubescent, they're pre-adolescents. So it's right at that window of opportunity to transform their behavior before they start having adolescent problems put on top of the trauma that they were enduring in their lives. So that age group was actually identified as a significant fulcrum to actually get transformation. There was a Harvard study that actually showed that the earlier you can capture these children, the less energy it is needed to transform behaviors in large scale. So the best age group is 0 to 3, but we chose the last point, that fulcrum, when they started to become adolescents.
Okay, thank you. So next question, have these models moved beyond Jamaica?
So currently, as we speak, I was invited to present at the Grand Challenges Global Mental Health 10th annual meeting with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we have been looking towards, and we have in fact concretized partnerships with Zimbabwe and Brazil for us to create a comprehensive package or a model that can be tested in the African continent and in South America. So that is the next phase of the program that we're looking to venture into.
Okay, so thank you very much. I see Khadija in, no? Okay, Khadija, maybe you can mute yourself. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much. I don't see any more questions. There is someone though who said, I thoroughly enjoyed this presentation as I am quite curious about cultural therapy, wishing I was trained in the Caribbean. One last question I see popping up now. Can you say more about how behavioral problems are assessed, Dr. Walcott?
Right, we use the ASEBA, the Ackenbach Systems of Empirical Based Assessment, which gave us a comprehensive breakdown. And we use ASEBA for the teachers and the parents. So we had the child behavioral checklist that we use and the teacher report form that gave us a comprehensive measure of both adaptive skills of the child, syndromes in terms of violence, agitation, externalization, depression, and anxiety. And also there was a DSM reporting scale, which looked at diagnosable disorders, ADHD, conduct disorder, PTSD. So that's how we assess the children empirically, behaviorally.
Thank you again, Dr. Walcott. We will now move on to the next panelist, Dr. Khadija Khan. Dr. Khadija Khan is a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist and a lecturer at the Faculty of Medical Sciences at UWI St. Augustine, Trinidad. She is an executive council member of the Korean Alliance of National Psychological Associations, and a past president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists. Dr. Khan received her tertiary education at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine and Mona campuses, and pursued her PhD and doctoral training at the University of Hull and the University of Sheffield in England. For the past 20 years, Dr. Khan has been a passionate lecturer, researcher, clinician, and public advocate, promoting mental health and well-being across the Caribbean. She is especially interested in the effects of culture in shaping cognitions and behavior.
Sorry, Maya. I think we may have lost Maya. Maya? Okay. I think we may have, I know the connection is not great, so I think we may have just lost Maya just for the, in terms of connection, but Khadijah needs no introduction. All our colleagues here knows you and the amazing work you do. So please, Khadijah.
Yes, thank you. And I know Maya's going to keep me to strict time. So I just want to get started. And I wanted to start off by saying it's really fantastic to be here and to see such a varied audience, Caribbean, international colleagues. We all have this shared passion for this topic. So I'm going to jump into it. So I decided to take the perspective of what's the foundation we need to build if we want to engage in things like Indigenous healing. And I think Indigenous healing is made more powerful and influential when it's informed by an Indigenous psychology. And for that, we need to sift through the layers of external influence to discover what is our authentic Caribbean experience, even while we're acknowledging the role of external factors in shaping this experience of ours. There's been an external influence which has been so dominant. It's seen 1% of psychology being imposed on the rest of the world, almost as a universal construct. And microcultures that don't fit this Western ethic or emic are often discarded or disregarded as exotic anomalies. Now, in our small Caribbean states, so much of what we consume, whether it's our media, food, fashion, news, politics, so much of it is external and Western that it will shape us. And this trickles down to so much that even our internal states are often externally constructed. The Western exploitation of mental illness has started to change how mental illness is manifested in many other cultures. So for example, many years ago while I was living in England, I grabbed this book. It's called Crazy Like Us, The Globalization of the Western Mind. And in it, there was a fascinating chapter how in the mid-1980s, when anorexia was being popularly featured in media and in movies, etc., it started to change the phenomenology and manifestation of symptoms in Hong Kong. So for example, the fear of fatness was never a symptom of anorexia in Hong Kong, but after it started to become popularized, for want of a better word, clinicians started seeing it. So this feature of the importation and the globalization of the Western features is something that trickles down to us. Moreover, if we look at the impact of colonization, and there was a very interesting discussion yesterday for those of you who joined in, colonization has also resulted in many cultures, and I'm going to touch a little bit on Indian and African psychology, moving away from traditional efforts to those that mimic Western methods and theories. Now, part of that has been driven by a language issue. So the need to publish in English language journals has led us to consume more of the Western theories in order to be appealing and to get published. for any of us who try to publish in cross-cultural journals, sometimes they don't carry as much appeal, especially when you're talking about smaller cultures like others. So when we start to depart so much from our authentic experiences, we run the risk of making psychology irrelevant or dismissed by many of our local populations, and especially the regular man and woman on the street. So I wanted to touch a little bit on some tenets of African psychology that were identified by Grills in 2002, and some of the commonalities it shares with Indian psychology. So for example, the concept of self-definition or even a communal order in terms of we understand ourselves often in context of the community and our interpersonal relationships with others. The idea of metaphysical interconnectedness that is shared by both an Indian and an African psychology, and sometimes not so much emphasized in our Western psychology, the concepts of philosophy or metaphysics. So for example, my research on suicide, especially looking at one of the ethnic disparities that exist in the Caribbean, where we see higher rates among Indo populations than Afro-Caribbean populations, has led me to investigate cultural constructions and scripts on how Indian culture might influence things like death and the idea of things like reincarnation, etc. But one of the most, Maya has given me my 1 minute rundown, so let me mention two. So the other one is the concept of nature and how much nature features into our psychology. So these Indian and African tenets of psychology consider nature to be an important part. How we exist in our natural environment is related to how we function as a person. So for example, in the Caribbean, many of us still think about taking a bush bath or dipping in salt, a nice sea bath when you feel like you need to reconnect. But guess what? Western psychology is coming full circle. A few years ago in the UK, their National Health Service started appealing to GPs to write social prescriptions. And I'm talking about actual prescriptions prescribing woodland walks, forest baths, and ecotherapies. I see some people are nodding. In the EU, they refer to a biodiversity hypothesis. What we know as playing in the dirt is good for you. And what they found was that children who lived in the country and who were playing outside in the dirt had more healthy levels of microbes. And they even found the relationships, they had lesser allergies and stronger immune systems. So these things that we have known to be traditional parts of how we exist with our environment, science is now catching back up. So the final point I wanted to raise was the idea of also ancestor worship. And I don't know if any of you have seen the animated movie Coco, which to me just brought home and gave it, Mexican culture was not something I was very familiar with, but it was such a fantastic movie that helped relate that connectedness to ancestral worship. That's also present in African psychology, Indian psychology. So finally, Indigenous healing needs to be informed by Indigenous psychology, which requires cultural insight and a grounding in our cultural worldview. So it requires an embracing and a continued prioritization of a psychology about us, for us, and by us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khadija. The first question, how do you recenter land and non-human relations in your work? Is it clear to you, or you need some more information?
No, my apologies. I forgot to unmute. I take a very practical perspective. So for example, discussing with all my clients, regardless of what the issues they come with, I usually start with that. So, the basics, are you sleeping well, eating well, hydrating? And then we get to their interaction. Are you exercising? What are you doing? How are you spending your time? So those same social prescriptions, what inspires you? So in terms of getting out there, and I do want to bring the pandemic in with a lot of the lockdown, and it's been taking its toll. A lot of people are retreating inwards, and sometimes we might run the risk of losing that connection, not just with persons, but also the environment. So sometimes I have to remind people, look, you may not be able to go out and interact in certain spaces, but in your yard, no, there's no lockdown in your yard. So remember to get out there, get some fresh air, go look up at the skies, go and get your beach therapy and your sea therapy. So I think perhaps we need to go a step further, maybe like the NHS. If we are going to take some of what they are doing, let's take those things which we already knew and maybe put those in as prescriptions for our clients as well.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much, Khadija. There's the movie Coco is just a wonderful, wonderful story. And Michael Henry says in the chat, in African psychology, a person only dies when their name is no longer uttered by the living. So as well as in the movie Coco, it's Mexico, and it's the same in Africa. So okay, so thank you very much. I don't see any questions at the moment. I missed a part of your bio. I was frozen. So I would still love to finish that part. Dr. Khan received her tertiary education at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine and Mona campuses, and pursued her PhD and postdoctoral training at the University of Hull and the University of Sheffield in England. For the past 20 years, Dr. Khan has been a passionate lecturer, researcher, clinician, and public advocate in the Caribbean. She is especially interested in the effects of culture in shaping cognitions and behavior, and how the Caribbean region can harness its history and experience to shape ecologically and culturally valid psychological approaches and interventions. Yes, okay. So thank you again, Khadija. And speaker, Alsace Lewis Brown, is able to join us via audio, so we can move on to our last presenter today. Alsace Lewis Brown is the author of several books for young adults published by Little Bell Caribbean Books of New York. Her titles include Ava the Mosquito as Margaret's. I hope I'm saying it correctly. That's a series. Promise of the Pomegranate, Moko Jumbi, Dreams, Moko Jumbi Margaret's, Footsteps to the Sunrise, and soon to be released in 2020, Cocoa Tree and the Crooked Man. She has taught in Antigua, Okinawa, Japan, and the Virgin Islands public school system. She serves on the University of the Virgin Islands part-time faculty for close to 30 years, teaching courses in literature and humanities. Since 2017, she has been the editor-in-chief of the Caribbean Writer. An international each year since 1987 by the University of the Virgin Islands. Alsace is also a founding member as well as program chair of the Virgin Islands Literary Festival and Book Fair, as well as founding member of the Virgin Islands Writing Society. Balancing Her other life, on the other side of academia, she was a human resources and labor relations professional in government and private industry. She is the mother of 2 grown children and grandmother of 5. The floor is yours, Alsace.
I know that Alcis was having a little bit of a challenge getting in and just still trying to reconnect. So I wondered, that was a beautiful overview, but maybe we can go to our next. I know she's trying to connect on the Zoom. Sorry.
Okay. 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 So maybe if there are some other questions in the meantime, because we to the breakout rooms. If there are any questions for Khadija or Jeffrey or Kamla, I know that we did not get the chance to go through all the questions for Kamla. Let me have a see. So Kamla, there is a question for you that we didn't get a chance to look into. And the question is, what is the role of working with lineage in possessions?
What do you mean with lineage?
Okay. Lineage. I think what is meant is the person is from.
Oh, yes, I have seen it also. That ancestors come and they can be abused by witches, by how do you call it? People who are working with witchcraft. Sometimes they abuse the souls of ancestors to harm the family, but mostly ancestors come during the sessions to give advice, to tell them how to resolve things, and they also give information about other ancestors by which the patient can recognize a lot of things in his or her own life. But I have seen it.
Okay.
I have a question for the colleague from Jamaica, and I'm going to type it.
Okay. Good.
All right, so we did.
You can also say it in Dutch if you would like.
I can't say it in Dutch.
No.
We had conducted the adverse childhood experience questionnaire in the group, and sexual abuse came up in 11 out of 400 children. But you have to also remember that these are prepubescent children. Sexual abuse would normally be more of a factor in the early puberty range, 13 to 15. It's not so much present in our country in the below 10 to 8. So, but surprisingly, when you look at the adverse childhood experiences in total, 92% of these children had some form of adverse childhood experience, whether physical abuse, neglect, etc. And the average number of ACEs that they had was about 2 to 3. So they were a traumatized population, kids in general. But the issue of the sexual abuse was not as prevalent in that age group. And certainly because it's 8 to 10, puberty changes had not taken place. And we do know statistically from studies that have been done that there is a difficulty as you get into the the puberty range, be during that age from 10 to 15, that you would see more rampant sexual abuse in that group. So it wasn't as big a factor in that age group, but that doesn't mean that's still not a problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, thanks to each of the speakers for such wonderful remarks, and thank you for all the comprehensive questions. Now, we will be assigning each of you to a breakout room. We will be heading into the network session. So in a minute, you will see a message asking you to join your room. Just click on it to join, and you will have about 12 moderator in your room to help guide the discussion there. Please return to the larger group for last remarks. Yes, so now you will receive a message asking you to join your room.
Hello, hello. If you're still here, please go into your, please click to join the meeting room. Please go and join the breakout room. Click on the button.
Hi, if you're waiting to go into a breakout room and you don't know which one, you can click the more at the bottom of your screen with controls, and it should show you a breakout room invitation.
Hello.
Hi, Gerda.
Hi. Are you still awake?
Yeah, I'm still awake.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to see if I could assign the people who were left into waiting rooms, but I don't seem to have that capability.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
I know. There are weird things that co-hosts can't do.
That's so weird. Okay. So I'm gonna make you host. Okay. So you have to be alert.
I'm alert.
Okay, so now you have to make me co-host, please, so I can.
Yeah, really.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. Okay, good.
Okay, so these people who were left were assigned.
Yeah, they were all assigned. They just didn't go into the room. So, and as you can see, there's some of the rooms that are a little bit, because of that, they're a little bit unbalanced, but that's okay.
How long are they in the rooms?
Typically, they are in there until 7:50. Well, they're in there till 7:20. And then, but I usually send a message out at 7:15, I would say, just to say, you have 5 minutes. And then, yeah, just to give a little bit of a warning.
I can send a message to everybody.
Yeah, you should be able to, if you go in the breakout room, it says send message, broadcast message. See it?
I'm looking.
The bottom.
Yeah, yeah.
See it? Yeah. So if you type a message there, it'll be broadcast to everybody.
Got it.
Yeah. So that should be good. Right, Javila?
Hey, oh no, I was leaving the room and then it brought me back here, but I actually have to leave overall.
Okay, yeah, I think you have to come here first so you can say bye to us, and then.
I see how you set that up. But good to see you guys and great talk. Looking forward to more.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
let us
Take care.
know what are some things you think would be really great to be a part of CanpaTalks. Our goal is to do them that are really based on the needs of folks in the Caribbean. So really thinking about research, maybe like there's one on research methods or assessment.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is to let us know.
All right, will do. Take care.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Bye. I would say, may I just saw your message? I would say 5 minutes, and then I do 2 minutes, and then I say 1 minute.
There's something on the screen that says remaining 0 seconds. Time is up. Do you want to close? So I want to keep them open, right?
Yeah, just keep them open. Yeah. Mhm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because it always was already set ahead of time.
For 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's why. So you just keep it open, and then you're looking at 7:15 in terms of our own time.
So 7:15, 7:18, and 7:20.
At
I got
7:20, yeah, exactly. And then I close, and when you close, it gives them a minute.
Right. Okay. And then everybody comes back and Maya takes over.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
I think
let me see. Do I have sharing? Okay, I can still share. Okay.
yeah, that was weird with her slides because you clearly were not seeing what we were seeing.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening with that. Yeah.
And some other weird things when people were in the waiting room, or Phaedra was telling me some of her students were in the waiting room. I couldn't see them. They logged out, they came back in, and then I could see them.
Mhm.
So there's some glitches that are inexplicable.
Why is Maya coming back? Oh, I can't. Maya's trying to get back here, she says.
Let me see if I can get her.
No, don't worry. I'm telling her, don't worry about the timer.
Maybe I should send a message to all of them saying, don't worry about the timer.
Yeah, that'd be great. I was just about to say that. Very nice. Maya would like to go back to room 6. Can you put her in room 6?
I'm trying to see where she is. Oh, she's here.
Mhm.
Um,
You just say move.
I'm looking at Maya and I'm not seeing and I've,
That's because it doesn't look like she's connected fully yet.
she's not connected.
Yeah, that's why.
I've got here, I've got her.
Okay, then you can move her.
No, it just says Maya is not joined. I can move her to everything except room 6. I'll put her in room 1 and then I'll quickly put her in room 6. I'll see if that works. I can't move her to the room she's not in. There, now I can put her back in 6. But it still says she hasn't joined.
Yeah, because I think your connection is not great yet. I'll be right back. She's coming back in.
Yep, I just joined her.
Okay.
Now, okay, now I can assign her. I'll do it as soon as she joins.
Yeah, I think she's having a little bit of a,
Yeah. Like she's there without any video or audio.
I'm telling her that. She said she's still connecting.
Okay, now she's back.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed conversation and connected with new colleagues. And yeah, we have a couple of minutes for last remarks. Is there anyone out of the breakout room who would like to share something?
I would like to call on Emmanuel, who was right in the middle of a very important statement, Emmanuel Cromet, about how he was impressed with the first speaker about possession, because in Haiti, there is, also that experience within Voodoo. So Emmanuel, would you like to finish your statement, please?
Okay, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
I was speaking about the people when they are in the Asian voodoo, so they used to enjoy or to have possession too. And when they are in possession, they have a lot of behavior that as that we can say that they are abnormal. So they are not like they was in the normal. So I think that we can make a lot of research to understand how these people feel when they are in possession, and if that cannot be considered as a part of I can say therapy, like. So I used to understand that. I used to listen to the people who speak about that they take it as some therapy in the Asian voodoo. So when they are in possession, they follow all the trouble, as I can say. So they are free. They love the freedom, like.
Okay. So thank you so much, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to say something about your conversation?
Good evening. I would like to go next.
Yes.
Okay, I was in room 5, and we had a very awesome discussion, and we were very fortunate to have Dr. Kamla there to elaborate some more on her work. We are all very much fascinated by what she does. And basically what emerges that, and I think that we all agree that the biopsychosocial model is not enough. It's not enough when dealing with clients from the Caribbean and even Suriname, because I think that most of us are Caribbeanists and we are from Suriname. And there is a need for a cultural perspective of psychology, because, most of us, we attended Western universities. We developed the Eurocentric view of psychology. Psychology was brought over as if it is universal, when it actually is not. And when you are confronted with your own people, so to speak, Caribbean people, the regular man and woman on the street, you realize that all these brilliant Western theories that you learned and all these brilliant labels, they do not work. And so we believe that local knowledge should also inform our work. Some of us are even more radical to believe that we should really move towards an indigenous local psychology if we would really like to serve our people. We had a student in our group who said, that initially when you hear possession, you think, oh, psychosis. But, she said that we should sometimes see symptoms as being something that belongs to us. So do not necessarily put it in that Western frame, but put it in a local frame. So all in all, a very fascinating discussion. And I think that we have a lot of work to do to deconstruct psychology. We have started, we are on our way, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
If I could.
Yes.
I
can't agree with you more. And that is exactly why there is CanPA. Yes, this is one of the specific reasons why we started up CanPA as a regional psychology organization for psychology associations, because we see that Western psychology we cannot plant that on our people. We just can't. So I see that there are two people. Omawale has a comment, and Phaedra had her hand up. I think that Omawale, you wanted to react to Xiomara?
I just want to quickly caution us. The biopsychosocial model is entirely comprehensive and capable of responding to cultural questions. You cannot disentangle the social from the cultural. We all have biology. That's what bio means. We're saying, let us not treat psychology as if it's a thing to itself. It is related to our biological experience. Psychology is that internal perception, interpretation of what you experience. Social embraces the macro and the micro. You cannot separate your culture from the social dimension. So let's not treat it as something very limited and rigid. The biopsychosocial model is new. It actually invites you as a psychologist to wrap your arms, metaphorically speaking, around the entire phenomenology of the human being. That's really what it is. So don't go out of this conference thinking, and I understand what Kamla was trying to say, but the cultural is a fundamental part of the social, as is the structural. Our economic and political experience, our historical experience is part of the social, our culture.
Yeah. But also the spiritual.
The spiritual, although that tends to lean more into the psychological because sometimes, but yes, it's social and cultural.
Yeah, okay. So thank you so much, Omowale. Phaedra, for the last remark, because the time is up.
Okay, it's really just a remark. I wanted to say just how happy I was about CanpaTalk. Really, congratulations to the team and the speakers. And what excites me most is that the group I was in yesterday and the group I was in today with the discussion, there are so many ideas emerging for CRCP 2020 plus. So good job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we would like to leave you with the following video representing who we are in the region. And when we finished this video, I would like to thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you for more of this at CRCP 2020 in the US Virgin Islands in November 2021. Gerda, the video, please.
Thank you. I know all of you joined me in giving a big hands up to our moderator. Despite nothing stops her from being a central part of this CanpaTalks this evening. Maya, thank you so much for being an amazing moderator and for the work that you did this evening. Thank you, everybody. This is just the beginning. CanpaTalks will be happening. Clearly, we need to talk about models, right, of this work and deconstructing this whole concept of the biopsychosocial model. We need to talk about assessment, and what are the assessment tools that we need to use, right? We need to think about research methods, right, and so forth. So there's lots of really amazing topic, and we invite all of you to please let us know the topics that you think would be most useful to you in the region. In terms of skills building and moving us forward. So thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Thank you to my amazing Campa team for embracing the idea of having CanpaTalks. Really, CanpaTalks only exists because all of you were able to come and participate in it. For that, we say thank you to you guys. Please make sure to visit Campa. Campa, it's www.campa.net. So that way you can learn more about the work that Campa is doing, but also so you can keep up with what's happening about the conference coming up next year. CRCP 2020 Plus is not to be missed. US Virgin Island teams have been amazing at work preparing, and so COVID will not keep that from happening. So we hope that you will submit your papers and join us in the US Virgin Islands. So with that, hopefully my screen will work this time, and that you'll be able to hear the video. Okay, thank you.
Despite racial injustice, door mensen veroorzaakte rampen en natuurrampen.
Nanga fas fade wa broko kulturu nanga fos tendresi.
Nuka beosum at foski feza alenu. We are Canpa. Juntos somos. Samen zijn wij Kampa.
We na Campa.
No se Kampa.
Muchas gracias.
So with that, we said thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. Campa is yours. It's not ours. It is, yes, it's all of us. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Be
Thank
safe.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And
Hi. Okay.
Great job, Gerda, Maya, everybody. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, well done.
Here,
Fantastic
here.
job, guys. Really well organized
Yes.
and done.
yeah,
Magnificent.
don't leave yet, Khadija. We wanna just
Yeah, I'm holding on.
okay,
I'm
good,
holding
good.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to
Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Leader,
Bye-bye. Yeah.
are you staying, right?
Okay, yes, of course.
I just removed all the people who were.
That's it. That's what I was trying to do too. And yeah, just so we can.
Guys, Mike was moved.
Where's Mike? We did it. You guys did it. You did it. You did it. I was like, oh my goodness, we missed Mike. Did Mike get leave? Oh.
Yeah, Mike left.
Bummer for getting up every morning, Friday morning at 7 a.m. You know, so, awesome job tonight, Maya. Awesome job, Khadija. Awesome job, our speakers. Look at Maya. Maya's like, yeah. You know when you're doing a production and behind the scene and and then the show is over, you're like, that's what you look like. The show is over.
She's sweating. You look like sweating, Maya, and it's like, whew.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Awesome.
Mary,
awesome.
you're still
awesome.
up. Mary, you're still up. Isn't it like 1 o'clock in the morning or something?
Maya, thank you for getting back right at the last minute.
Yeah.
And every time I was in the middle of a statement, I got pulled away. I felt like the Jumbies were really at work tonight.
I'm sorry, because we're like, we need you in this room, and then people came and we're like, okay, we don't need you in this room. We need you. We're like, you're the only person that we could yo-yo like that. Like,
okay.
Yeah. Who else can we do that to, you know? So.
Okay. The Jumbies are busy.
Oh, yeah, let me tell Mike to come back. Yes, let's see.
You guys are great. Gerda, we
can stop the recording too, guys. Don't it? Stop the recording.
All right.
And that
Well, are we